Welcome to Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We are joined today by Jack Hadjinian. He is the mayor of the city of Montebello. I had no idea, sir, that Montebello had such a long history and rich Armenian community. It's remarkable. Tell us about it.
Well, you know, Montebello is home to the first Armenian community in Southern California.
Did not know that.
No.
Well, I presume Glendale, just because there are a lot of Armenians in Glendale, very civically engaged and active. But of course, that was a recent wave of Armenians moving with the collapse of the Soviet Union. But your family.
Yeah, Glendale, that community would be, you know, somewhere about 30-year-old community. Maybe,
right.
Yeah. But in Montebello, they date back to the 1930s. In fact, I'm a third-generation resident. So my grandfather moved there in '56. And then, you know, my mom grew up there. I grew up there. My mom and I attended the same elementary school.
Fantastic. Yeah. Let's talk about your grandfather, because this year we are remembering the 100th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. We've spoken about it frequently on this program. It's devastating and heartbreaking to think about what happened in that region literally 100 years ago. During World War I. Reflect for us, sir.
Well, you know, this is the centennial of the genocide. Mm-hmm. It's very special to my community. Mm-hmm. Being the first Armenian elected during the centennial has a special meaning.
Yes.
I'm the grandchild of a genocide survivor.
And that's your grandfather who you mentioned?
Yes, my grandfather.
So is he still, I presume he's not with us.
He passed away 15 years ago.
Okay, but did he remember, was he young, was he old enough but young enough to remember the genocide?
Yeah, my grandfather was actually older than most of my friends' grandparents, because
I understand, right.
You know, he was a teenager during the genocide, where most survivors were children.
Tell us about him, if you don't mind, and what he remembers.
My grandfather remembers a whole lot. And, you know, what happened was, fortunately, 2 Turkish soldiers were arguing whether or not my grandfather was a little boy or a young man. So, meaning if he was a young boy, they can influence him.
And he can become a Turk.
Islamicized.
Right, yeah.
But if he was a teenager, he had a developed mentality. However, my grandfather was a teenager, and
but did he look young? I presume he
looked young. Yeah,
right.
they misdiagnosed him, you know, if you want to say. And he basically witnessed his father and his uncle. They were executed at gunpoint, and he was able to escape that. And he, with his mother, lived in an attic of a Kurdish family. Where to the point where he eventually participated in the Battle of Sardarabad, which was a battle where Armenians finally were able to get together and defend the last remaining portion of Armenia, which is present-day Armenia.
Got it.
So if this battle didn't take place, it was a volunteer battle. It was only like 3 or 4 days, and they were able to defend themselves.
What brought him to the United States, to California, to Montebello?
That's interesting. So. My grandfather, after that battle, they were able to, Armenia became an independent country.
But then...
And shortly after, the Bolsheviks came to organize to basically make it a Soviet state. And my grandfather and many others were protesting against the Bolsheviks.
Okay.
They were defeated. They had to leave, or else they'd be killed.
Sure.
So my grandfather moves to Russia near the Black Sea, and during World War II, when Adolf Hitler was making his final push against the Allied forces, he made everybody in Germany join the war. So basically the factories were all shut down. So when the Nazis invaded that portion of Russia, they took the Armenians to Germany as forced laborers to work in the factories. And my mom it's crazy. And my mom, so they were taken by the Nazis to Germany. And during that time, they had basically separated the Armenians once they figured that they weren't Jewish. They put them in a displaced persons camp as they were killing Jews.
Oh, yes.
And my mom was born in one of those camps in Stuttgart. So now that the war is over, these Armenians can't go back to the Soviet Union because they'll be killed.
Yeah.
So the United States brought them in 1949 to the United States. So my family settled in Worcester, Massachusetts for like a month or so.
Right.
Then they lived in Detroit from 49 to 56. So my grandfather has an interesting story. He escaped, genocide.
Two genocides, essentially.
He lost children in Russia during the war. He lost a wife. He ends up becoming a janitor for Ford Motor Company. And one of my uncles at that time, they all worked in Detroit, Motor City. But at that time, one of my uncles had joined the Army, and he was stationed here in California. And he called my grandfather, and he said, "The weather's really good in California. There's a lot of jobs.
Right.
Let's move everybody down."
I have to ask you, what would your grandfather say if he knew that his grandson was mayor of the city that welcomed him and was mayor during the 100th commemoration of the genocide?
Wow, that's a good question. One, my grandfather was very proud to be an American, as he was an Armenian. He loved this country. So he would be very happy to know that I was giving back to a place that provided hope and opportunity to him and his family. So it's hard to answer that question because there's a lot.
Is your mom still with us?
My mom is still with us.
And
yeah. So she's
proudest mom ever.
Proudest mom ever. She's the connection to my grandfather and I.
Of course she is.
Yeah, it's really it's an amazing feeling to serve as mayor of a city that was home to many genocide survivors.
Right.
A place that gave Armenians just a normal place to live.
Tell us more about Montebello. I know it well because when I drive on the 60, that mall, it just calls my name and it calls a lot of people's names. And I have to presume that during the downturn, the mall, I hope, provided a lifeline for your city. Although I know we weren't shopping as much. I mean,
well, we took a big hit, so our city at one point topped out at about $12 million in annual sales tax revenue.
Okay.
And it took a big hit. It had dropped down to $8 million.
Oh, wow.
So now we're projected to exceed the $12 million because we almost hit the $12 million.
Wow.
Half a year in. So mid-year in rather.
Of course.
So we're doing good. The mall is basically
it's the engine that could.
It is. It's the big engine that could.
How long has it been there?
It's been there since '84.
How did that happen? I mean, literally, it's legendary. It's an icon. I mean,
well, Chevron Oil Company used to own.
I see.
That land, and the deal was made with the city back in the late '70s.
And so, what is Montebello doing to bring more business, more industry into the city? Because obviously, you want to grow. Or are you already built out? I mean, is there really not much more?
The city, for the most part, on our industrial segment or component or area is it's built out.
Okay.
There's still some opportunity there. Businesses are always looking to relocate.
Of course.
For several reasons.
Right.
So
it's such a great location.
It's a great location.
Not far from downtown, like far enough but not too far.
I mean, we're right in the middle of Orange County in downtown LA.
That's true.
If you think about it.
Right.
So it's logistically or geographically, it's a great location.
And without redevelopment, how are you luring businesses in without that tool?
That's tough because redevelopment actually helped cities entice developers to come to the city, and in many cases, it served as gap financing in a project. It helped the developer pencil out a deal.
Indeed.
So you don't have that opportunity anymore. So what you can do as a city leader is try to attract developers to come to the city and, be flexible with them in terms of entitlements, things that would help them, make a profit or make their project profitable.
His name is Jack Hadjinian. He is the mayor of the beautiful city of Montebello. I honor you and I honor your grandfather. Thank you. He's running for re-election. That election will be held in November.
November 3rd.
I'm Brad Pomerance. This is Charter Local Edition.